Part 1. Anne Frank, a girl who kept writing. She was not a soldier. She was not a leader. She was a girl with a notebook. Anne Frank was born in 1929 in Germany. Her childhood began normally. School, friends, family. But the world around her was changing fast. Again and again, new rules appeared, and each rule made life smaller. Because she was Jewish, Anne could not go to certain schools. She could not sit in certain places. She could not live freely. Step by step, her world became limited. Her family moved to Amsterdam, hoping for safety. For a short time, life felt better. Anne laughed. She talked too much. She argued. She dreamed. She wanted to become a writer. Then the war came. German forces occupied the Netherlands. Fear entered daily life. People disappeared. Doors closed quietly at night. Trust became fragile. Anne was 13 when everything changed again. Her family went into hiding, not for a day, not for a week, for years. They hid in a small secret space above her father's office, a hidden annex, dark rooms, narrow stairs, curtains always closed, silence during the day, fear at every sound. Anne could not go outside. She could not feel the sun freely. She could not speak loudly. Imagine being 13 and told you must stay quiet to survive. In that small space, Anne received a diary for her birthday, a simple red notebook. She began writing in it, not because she knew history was watching, but because she needed a friend. She wrote about fear, about arguments, about growing up, about hope. Again and again she returned to one idea. Even in darkness, people can choose kindness. Anne was not perfect. She complained. She felt angry. She felt misunderstood. She was human. And that is why her voice feels real. Outside, the world was breaking. Inside, a girl was writing. She did not know if anyone would ever read her words, but she kept writing anyway. Part 2. Growing up in silence, / Life in the secret annex was not dramatic every day. It was slow, repetitive, heavy. The same walls, the same stairs, the same careful steps. During the day, they had to stay silent. Workers were below them. Every sound could be dangerous. A dropped spoon, a cough, a whisper too loud. Fear lived in small noises. Anne felt this pressure deeply. She was young. She wanted to move, to talk, to laugh freely. But again and again she had to stop herself. Silence became a rule, and rules became life. There were 8 people hiding in that small space. Different personalities, different fears, small rooms, no privacy. Tension grew easily. Arguments happened over simple things: food, space, words. Anne often felt misunderstood. She felt that adults did not see her clearly. She wrote honestly about her mother, about her sister, about the others. Sometimes she was kind, sometimes she was sharp. But writing gave her freedom. In her diary, she could say everything. She could be brave. She could be afraid. She could dream about the future. She wrote about becoming a journalist, a writer. She wanted her voice to matter. Even in hiding, she believed in tomorrow. Outside, the war continued. News came through a radio. Stories of deportations, of camps, of people disappearing. The world felt unstable. But Anne tried to hold on to hope. She once wrote that she still believed people were truly good at heart. Imagine holding that belief while living in fear. Anne was not only hiding from danger, she was growing up. Her thoughts became deeper. Her feelings became stronger. She began to understand the world in a new way. Inside a small hidden room, a young girl was becoming herself, and she was writing it all down. Part 3. Hope in a closed room. Time in the annex moved slowly. Days felt long. Weeks felt endless. Outside, seasons changed. Inside, the rooms stayed the same. Anne began to look out of a small window in the attic. She could see a chestnut tree, blue sky, birds flying, small signs of normal life. These moments became important. They reminded her that the world was still there. Again and again, she returned to hope. Anne read books. She studied history. She practiced writing. She improved her Dutch. She did not want to waste time. Even in hiding, she believed her future still mattered. Her diary changed. At first, it was simple: daily events, small complaints. Later, it became deeper. She edited her writing. She rewrote parts carefully. She imagined that one day people might read it. Anne wanted her words to survive. But fear never left completely. There were robberies in the building, strange sounds at night, whispers of betrayal. Every knock on the door felt dangerous. Living in constant fear changes a person. It makes you older than your age. Anne thought about identity, about being Jewish, about being human, about injustice. Her thoughts became mature, clear, honest. She did not deny the darkness around her, but she refused to let it control her completely. Inside a hidden space, with limited light and limited freedom, Anne kept choosing belief over bitterness. She wrote about fear. She wrote about anger. But she also wrote about kindness. In a world that was closing in, she kept her inner world open, and that quiet strength made her voice powerful. Part 4. The day everything changed. For more than 2 years the door stayed closed. More than 2 years of careful steps, whispered voices, curtains always drawn. Every morning the same fear, every night the same hope. And then, one ordinary morning in August 1944, everything stopped. There was a sound. Not a normal sound, not a small mistake. A loud knock, firm, certain. No one moved. In moments like this, time slows down. Breathing becomes heavy. Thoughts become sharp. You understand something without words. They had been discovered. Boots on the stairs, voices, orders. No more hiding. Anne was 15 years old. There was no dramatic speech, no heroic action, just reality. Fast, cold, final. The diary stayed behind. The people in the annex were arrested and taken away, first to a transit camp, then to Auschwitz. Later, Anne and her sister Margot were moved again, to Bergen-Belsen. The world outside was no longer distant. It was harsh, crowded, cruel. Anne lost privacy, safety, strength. Food became rare. Illness spread quickly. Winter was brutal. Again and again, survival meant one more day. Anne, who once wrote about hope under a chestnut tree, now faced a world without protection, without comfort, without certainty. But even in the camps, witnesses later remembered something about her. She still spoke about the future. She still believed she would write again. She still imagined life after the war. That belief was not naive. It was resistance. Anne Frank died in early 1945, likely from typhus, only weeks before the camp was liberated. She never knew her diary would be read. She never knew her voice would travel across the world. But her words survived. And sometimes, survival is not about the body. Sometimes, it is about the voice. Part 5. A voice that survived. When the war ended, Only one person from the annex returned, Anne's father, Otto Frank. He was alone. When he came back to Amsterdam, someone gave him a small red diary. He opened it. Inside were the words of his daughter, her thoughts, her fears, her hope. Page after page, she was still speaking. Otto read slowly, line by line, word by word. He discovered a side of Anne he had never fully seen, her doubts, her dreams, her strength. He made a decision. The world should hear her voice. The diary was published in 1947. At first, only a few people read it, then more and more. Step by step, her words traveled across countries, across languages, across generations. Anne Frank became a voice for millions who could not speak. She did not survive the war, but her thoughts did. She once wrote that she wanted to go on living even after her death. She wanted her words to matter. They did. In a small, hidden room, a teenage girl chose to write instead of staying silent. She wrote about fear, she wrote about anger, she wrote about hope, and hope survived. Her diary reminds us of something simple and powerful. Even when freedom is taken away, even when walls close in, the human voice still matters. Anne Frank did not change the world with power. She changed it with honesty. And honesty travels further than fear. If this story moved you, you can continue learning English through other powerful lives on this channel. You can discover how Charlie Chaplin turned pain into laughter and how silence became a form of courage. His story shows that even in loneliness, a human heart can still connect with the world. You can also explore the rise and fall of Julius Caesar, a man who reached absolute power and paid the price for it. His story reminds us that ambition builds, but limits protect. Each of these stories is told in clear, simple English to help you improve listening naturally, step by step, through real human experience. Choose the next story, keep listening, and keep learning.
Thanks! Please subscribe and like. Spin a new yarn with us every week. See you there!